Thursday, October 8th. With me this hour, the Policy People founder, Cathy Lynn Taylor, and David Joy of Ameriprise Financial. Thanks both of you for being in Washington right now with the very latest. Good morning to you, Blake.
Hi there, Maria. Good morning to you as well. Russia appears to be expanding its operations in and around Syria. Russia has launched missiles originating 900 miles away from the Caspian Sea. And the Pentagon said Wednesday it could not confirm if ISIS targets inside Syria were indeed struck.
Cathy, how does the Russian escalation play, do you think, into U.S. strategy?
It's a real escalation now. I mean, firing 26 long-range caliber cruise missiles yesterday into Russia is more than a taunt from Putin. So we're now in more than a pickle for sure. And the challenge now is that now we've aggravated they've aggravated Turkey. You have others coming into the mix with various opinions, and it's going to be very unclear how we proceed unless we get a real strategy in place. And so we need to do that immediately.
I mean, Putin seems to be just taunting the Americans.
Just taunting. I mean, Obama has dealt him an open hand. He's basically handed him the keys right now to the Middle East. And until we come forward with something very clear and decisive, he's going to continue pushing forward. But, you know, his buildup is significant. He's talking about ground forces. China's waiting in the wings. We have not been collaborative with the Chinese as to what they're going to do. And so the jury's really out.
Well, I mean, you know, he is taunting, but what is he expecting? I mean, is he trying to taunt the U.S. into some kind of a military fight with Russia?
I think not. I think ultimately he does not believe that this president here has the appetite for that, and he knows that.
Right, and that's the point.
That's the point. He can go as far as he wants. It takes pressure away from his actions in the Ukraine, and he may actually get something out of it. So for him right now, it's a win-win.
He's already had some kind of a positive impact. Right. Just by creating disruption and upset has pushed oil prices higher.
Yes. Yes, and now you have Turkey, who's, Russia's their second largest trading partner. 60% of their natural gas comes from Russia. They have the Kurd problem. They're on the edge of Iraq. And so you now have this potentially spilling over into Europe. And what pressure is that going to put from an economic perspective?
What about our friends within the Middle East? I mean, you know, how do you think they see it? And does that play into this in any way?
Well, you may
partnerships.
Make an excellent point, and the key word is friends. All right, we've lost a lot of friends over the last 7 years, and we have very few allies in the world right now with whom we can rely on, and we have not been steady in our course over the last 7 years there. So that's going to be a real challenge for us. We have a lot of diplomatic work to do to make this work.
Well, we don't know where this goes. This is really a very fast-moving story. All right, we'll keep talking about it. Meanwhile, we want to take a look at the race for the White House. Donald Trump reportedly ready to switch gears after softening support in the latest round of presidential polls. Trump, who still maintains his front-runner status, will be including his wife Melania and daughter Ivanka in more events on the campaign trail. He will also begin an aggressive television ad campaign and will release a book on policy titled Crippled America. Some people say Trump is starting to lose momentum in the polls. However, this is a new part of the strategy to bring family in. Do you think it'll work, Cathy?
I think it's a good strategy. I don't ultimately think it will work. And I think the fact that he's making statements now, like he did this past weekend, that if I don't continue to be in a winning position, I would certainly drop out. I'll go on the trail. We'll see what happens. That's a new tone for Trump. So I think this makes him relatable in some ways. He does not have maybe the typical American family, and therefore it may not make him as relatable as he is on his own in other ways.
That's true.
So it's a bit of a risk. It's certainly a risk potentially from his immigration statements, but I think it's the right time. He has to put everything forward, but I don't think ultimately it's going to be what pushes him completely over to the next level and become president.
He is throwing these lines out like, look, you know, if I see the polls softening, I will step out. I mean, I think he's got to believe that, you know, he can be infinitely more successful after this. He's already made his brand that much better. You know, he's improved his brand. So, you know,
I think that
I could see him stepping down too.
Yes, he's a branding genius, and I think he never thought he'd get this far. Why not go with it? He's having the time of his life. Who wouldn't? He's doing some very good things for the conversation that really are historically significant. But he's doing it from the head. And I think one of the reasons you're seeing someone like Dr. Carson prevail so well is he's doing it from the heart. And ultimately, that consistency and that stability of message are going to maybe be a big differentiator.
Yeah, but you got to say that Donald Trump has already done a great deal, on the positive side for this election. He's gotten people energized. He's gotten people talking about the issues. He's gotten people out. You have to believe that the electorate is going to be bigger. They'll come out and vote.
It's absolutely true, and people are watching debates, and it's exciting.
Yeah.
And it's good excitement. So absolutely, he has changed the tone of the political conversation in a way that needed to happen and that Americans were calling for. And the question is, as he potentially goes towards the out route, will the others continue to carry on that message?
Yeah, and will the public be as excited about it?
That's right.
Well, welcome back. As the presence of the millennials in the workplace continues to grow, our next guest company aims to mentor and develop those millennials with the tools needed to strengthen their careers. Joining us right now is Levo co-founder and CEO Caroline Goen.
So within our user base, the majority of our users really refer to themselves as entrepreneurs or intrapreneurs, and when they state their purpose, their future purpose in their career, they really focus on creating digital businesses or serving digital businesses that are being created. So that's where we're seeing people go.
This is a generation that wants to learn STEM, that's science, technology, engineering, math. I mean, and those are the jobs that are available. I mean, we talk to CEOs all the time. There's a major skills gap in this country.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
And there's also a little bit of a traditions gap. So you have folks like David and myself who are used to receiving cover letters and maybe a little bit more formal. We were laughing. Nobody knows what that is anymore.
It's different. They're different.
It's different. There's a certain set of norms that are different than what the millennials are comfortable with today. And one is not necessarily right or wrong, but how do you help your constituent base kind of really bridge that gap so they can be the most successful in these jobs?
So one of the things that we do is we provide advice and we provide actual courses to help you through the interview process, to help you through the application process. And our core product is the Levo Profile. So what we do at our essence is try to reinvent the idea of a resume. So really focus on helping a digital native tell an authentic story, not in bullet point format, not on one page, using rich media. It's insane that we have video and all of these other forms of content available. The millennials are spending 60% of their time, at least on their phones, but that the interview process is still the way that it is. So we're trying to fix that.
That's great. And what do you think the policy prescription is that's necessary with this upcoming election that will most help you all?
I think that one of the things, that's a fantastic question. Thank you for asking that one. One of the things that's most important for us to focus on is the skills gap. I think it's critical. It's especially critical when we look at what is the diversity level of leaders that we're creating for this next generation. And when you look at the entrance into STEM, when you look at the job creation and the wealth creation that's happening there, and you look at the makeup of the people coming into it, we have a challenge we need to work on, we need to solve.
And do you think is the onus on employers to do that? Do you think employers understand that?
I think that some employers are beginning to understand that and are beginning to create an educational environment within their companies, and those employers are beating the 18-month expectation that you now have to retain a millennial.
Right, because they want the millennials to work there. Caroline, great insights. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Good to see you. Caroline Goen founded Levo. Anthem Blanchard, he is founder and CEO of Anthem Vault. Anthem Blanchard, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. I wonder if you guys are right, if the Federal Reserve holds off until March, and that's a positive for the markets or a negative. Because, that basically tells everybody, look, if they can't raise rates until March, this economy must be a lot weaker than we thought.
And it's going to translate more into an issue during the election, I think. We haven't talked a lot about the economy yet. We've talked about taxes.
You're right.
We have not talked about the average person in the economy. And I think as we see weakening emerging markets, a soft China, slow growth Europe, we're the best of the best, but is that enough? And I think for the average person, they're going to want to hear a lot more about that.
Which, by the way, boggles the mind. I mean, the fact that we haven't gotten into growth and jobs.
Right.
Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation announcing a year-long parental leave program for employees. Nicole Pedalese is here with that story right now. Nicole, good morning.
Good morning to you, Maria. That's right. The Gates Foundation will now offer 52 weeks paid parental leave for all employees. The organization issued a statement via LinkedIn saying, quote, ultimately, our parental leave program is focused on healthier babies, parents who are able to thrive professionally, and strong and resilient families. But that's not all. The foundation also announced plans to grant employees unlimited paid time off, regardless of how much sick or vacation time they've accrued. Less than 1% of U.S. companies offer unlimited paid vacation, one of them being Netflix, which announced its groundbreaking parental leave policy earlier this year, Maria. The Gates Foundation currently employs more than 1,300 people. And when we talk about these leaves that are great if you're having a baby or you have an elderly or dying parent, seems wonderful for the employees, but what kind of financial crunch does it put on the particular companies that participate?
Yeah, no, it's the right question. Kathy, what do you think?
I think it's a difficult precedent to set. I admire them for trying to lead by example, and they're certainly in a position to be able to do so.
Yeah.
But the reality is, as both a working mother of 2 small children and a business owner, that it is very unattainable for most businesses, not only in this country, but across the world, to be able to offer a policy like this. And I'm not sure it's completely necessary, and I might be very unpopular for saying that, but I think there's probably a happier balance that can be reached that doesn't put us in a position where we start to look like a Europe from an economic policy standpoint, which would be real good right now.
And to your point, 52 weeks, maybe that's a little too long. That'll be one of the topics I'm sure they'll discuss, is an employee taking advantage.
It's not just the amount of time. It's also the traditions and the norms within the workplace. And I think the large corporations and the banks have done a really great job in many respects in trying to be at the edge of what they can do and have comfortable feeding rooms and things like that within the work environment. But the reality is these are individual issues between an employee and a manager, and those cultural norms probably need to be worked on a little bit more in addition to just the timing.
We know that there are, rebels that are CIA backed that are against Assad, and so that puts Putin against the U.S. on this particular point, Kathy.
Yes, decidedly. He is not fighting ISIS or anybody else. He is propping up the Assad regime in an effort to secure more power for himself and more power across the region. And there's just absolutely no bones about it. And he'll take into his wing on this mission anyone who will come, whether it be China or anybody else.
And include in that the U.S.
That's right.
Which really creates all sorts of questions about where this goes and where the relationship between the U.S. and Russia goes. While President Obama is leading from behind.
That's right. That's right. And I know, I mean, the hockey was like a bad Saturday Night Live skit when I saw it. I thought, is this really possible? Right?
Yeah.
But the reality,
7 goals.
Right. But the reality is, look, he has an enormous ego. He's quite the bully. But he is not ideological. He needs a working world order. And so he's going to go far. And President Obama has given him no reason to think that Putin can't take this very, very far. And he's going to waste a lot of money that Russia doesn't really have in this economy toward it. But the question is, how far? And we need a strategy very quickly to make sure that it doesn't go too out of control.
Do you think the world sees the most powerful person in the world as President Obama, the leader of the free world, or Vladimir Putin?
It pains me to say this, but absolutely not President Obama.
Absolutely not. David Joy, Cathy, Lynn Taylor, great to have you this morning. Thanks very much for joining us.